Good evening, all. Good evening, YouTube and boys. How are we all?
Good evening. I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Really good. Steve will be joining us. I think he's joining us at 8:30. He messaged us earlier on, so he's been called up. So I'm not too sure if that's work or whatever it is. So he will be joining us in due course. So what we've been up to this week, boys?
This week, what have we been up to? Not a great deal, to be honest, mate. I've just really been letting the tank do its thing. Nutrients are still relatively high. Nothing drastic, but just it looks all right. It's doing its thing. I did lose one of my big turbo snails that I had. I had two big turbo snails in the tank. One of them got itself wedged between one of the rocks at the back and the glass, and then one of the hermits just picked it to death. So that was one that I think probably could have been avoided, but anyway, it is what it is. So yeah, I lost that. That kind of gave the water a bit of a cloudy, it was quite cloudy for maybe a day or so after that. I didn't take it out, I just left it in for them to feast on, so maybe that's my fault. But water was a bit cloudy for about a day after that, and then back to normal again. So yeah, not really much on that, to be honest. Been quite a quiet week for me, to be fair. Nothing exciting happening in the tank anyway. So
I stopped mixing crabs and snails ages ago because the crabs would just be all over the snails a lot of the time, and if a snail, as your point, got stuck or it was on its side or anything, that would be it. It's toast. And occasionally, I don't think they were picking on zoas, but they do seem to climb over zoas more than anything else, in which case the zoas get a bit agitated. I don't think I lost any, but I just decided that I wasn't going to have any more hermit crabs just for that basis, that I'd just go snails only. I mean, I do like when you see the crabs because, the features on them and everything else, so they're a bit more exciting than snails, you could argue. Yeah. But I just stopped for that reason.
I mean, I think for me, I probably got crabs. I didn't get crabs. Got crabs in the tank. Just clear that one up.
I always say I do hermit crabs. Therefore, there's no kind of misinterpretation.
Yeah. So I think when I got the crabs for the tank, I got most of them before I got really many snails. So I think I should have done it the other way around about. Got the snails in first and then seen what crabs to get. But what I will say is I don't know if you remember the arrow crab that I had. That's probably one of my favourite kind of altogether that I've had. So I think if I was to do it again, I would probably go like the turbo snails and the Sari snails and so on and get the arrow crab as well. And I think that would probably keep me happy. Don't know if I would put many other crabs in, to be honest with you, but yeah, that's what it is. I've learned from that. But I quite like having the crabs. It's something different to see. So it's quite good to watch.
I like the blue-legged ones. I just think they look really good, and they're quite entertaining when you see them and stuff like that. I just think they're a bit of a pain. I suppose I could go crabs only in a tank, but I don't know if people do crabs only in a tank rather than snails, or whether they mix it up a little bit. What about you, Jay?
Yeah, so I got some hermit crabs, and that little cleanup crew pack that I got from Salamarine. So I got some of those. I've never had any hermits, but I thought apparently they eat algae, don't they? So I've got a little bit of kind of algae on the rockwork, so that's why I bought them. They haven't really touched it, to be fair. All they do is terrorize the snails.
There we go.
They find the snail with a slightly larger shell than theirs and then pick on it for about a week. And at the moment, let me just show you this. This is what happens. So I've got astrea snails, which are brilliant at polishing the rocks and the glass. But because they know that the hermit crabs are always near the sandbed, they're always now, let me just show you this little, they're all at the top. You see them? So there's 3 up at this corner. And they just hide. They hide at the top. And then I've got 2 on this bit of glass here. Because...
This has got to be a record for a Jay's Real Reef close-up at 8:05. That's a new record.
He's gone for it, hasn't he?
I know, he's dived straight into it. You usually get a bit warning.
Yes, Jay, we can see the snails,
Yep.
Yeah, so they know, they've learnt over the last kind of couple of months that if they're on the sandbed, the hermits just keep rolling them over. So they'll roll them over, they'll keep picking at the snail. They don't kill them, but who says snails are stupid? They know exactly where to be out of the way of the hermit crabs. But and I've noticed that in the last few weeks. Do you enjoy the close-up, Ross?
I am actually, mate. I'm impressed the fact that we've got a working Wi-Fi connection. We've got a good camera. Things seem to be going too well here, mate. There's something.
We haven't reached
Hey,
40, not 45 minutes yet, is it?
You know what this is, don't you? I'm on the missus's laptop. That's what it is. I'm on the.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm on the. I've been a good boy this week. I've earned my points, and I can use the laptop.
You're going to have to ban her from going anywhere on a Friday night with the laptop. That's just unacceptable now. It's just going to have to be for live streams only.
I know. To be fair, she leaves me to use it, but then she didn't give me the password, so I don't know why she didn't give me the password.
Yeah.
She must think I'm going to buy corals on like her account or something. I don't know.
So that's a fair point.
Yeah. Shouldn't have said anything, should I?
Yeah. And that's another fair point. When Steve
very
comes
good
on,
sign, isn't
the
it?
first thing he will say is, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me?" That'll be it'll be hello. It'll be, "Can you hear me?"
It sounds like he's down a coal mine somewhere. Hey, go.
Oh, he's late. Yeah, not just late. He's usually in about 20 to 8, so he's half hour late or a bit more.
I know, yeah.
Right, so let's have a quick look who's in the chat. Techers, Hyatt, John Wright, UK Reef Bro.
That's our comp winner, isn't it? UK Reef Bro won the competition, didn't he?
Certainly is, yeah.
He is.
Hayley.
How's he getting on with that doser?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, how you getting on with your doser?
The Algae Warrior is in the house. So
Always
Steve.
Hi, Steve.
S Plums, Stew's Reef, Cotty's Reef, JC. Couple
it's good to see the same names are in the chat every single week. You know, we always get the same people coming back. I don't know if they must be fed up of our faces by now, surely.
Yeah.
Punishments.
Especially if you have us on the telly. I know some people have us on the telly. I mean, that's a bit scary, isn't it?
Lance, I've never seen Lance before. It's good to see Lance. Got a nice Rolex as well, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he must be a new watcher.
Yeah. GMI. Stuart. Poetry Witch. I tell you what, Poetry Witch, I was looking at some of your videos the other day about the star signs. So it was keeping me entertained. So thank you. Sky Marine. Evening all.
Logo.
There we go. Oh, there was the vlogger's camera. Oh, I've got loads of bubbles. I have to go in a minute. I've got loads of bubbles in my tank. I think I've run out of RO. No, I forgot to top up the RO. I think I did.
Oh no!
Oh dear.
It's gone
that's
too low.
happened before, actually, hasn't it? I think
it has because with the Red Sea reefers, you get a small RO unit. It sits on top of the sump. And so you have to top it up in 3 to 4 days. And if I just forget, like I have then I have to top it up.
Into like a spa resort.
It does. I suppose it's one way of bubbling. Yeah, it's one way of bubbling method of the tank. If nothing else, so that helps.
Thinking of that, I mean, a lot of people have said to me about the ATO chambers being quite small on the sumps and so on. So see from my new tank, what I'm going to do is going to get one of those, I think it's Reef Factory, does the level sensors. So you can just sit it on it and you can put that in the ATO. When it gets to the level that you set, it'll ping your phone to say, need to top it up. So I think I'm going to fit one of them to it just for that very reason, because everybody says it won't last you a week or so on. And usually when I've been doing that little tank, I just top it up every week. So if that one's not going to last a week, then I think I'll be putting a level sensor or something on it. Yeah.
Whereas I've got on the 900, the DD, that has built into the sump, and you fill it up to the top, and that lasts a good 6-7 days. And on the 170, it's got a big salt bucket, 25 litres, and then that lasts for ages. So right, I'm going to have to go and do this. Definitely need to fill it out. Just make sure it hasn't got blocked first.
Yeah.
So have you changed your lights again, mate, or are they still in the same?
No, it's out of
water. They look different again tonight.
Mine.
It's out of water. Yeah. Yours look a different colour again tonight.
Right. So mine have changed, and I didn't actually set them to change. So I had them. I had them coming on at 9 a.m. You know, I changed them because obviously it's so light now in the morning. So I had them to come on at 9 a.m. and go off about 8:30, 9 o'clock. So I came in this morning, 6:30 in the morning, and they were on blues again. And I'm like, what the hell's going on there? So obviously they defaulted back to another setting. I don't know why, for whatever reason. So yeah, they're on a different setting at the moment.
So do you run yours for 12 hours almost then every day?
Well, today they've been on for 12 hours, yeah. Well, they've been on for more than that. They've been on about 14 hours at the moment. But
every coral in that tank will be a bounce now, won't it? They'll all be popping.
They're into their light. They're very they're light-loving corals, Mike. They get used to it. But yeah, I tried to just get it from when I was doing it from 9 till about 8:30 on the adjusted setting. It was much better, but now it's bounced back to something else now. I don't know
That's
why.
still a long period of time, isn't it? I mean, you're talking, what, 11 and a half hours for your schedule?
Yeah. But I mean,
So I've got mine runs from 2 till 10. So I'm about 8 hours on mine.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Is that what like normal people do? I don't know. Is that
I wouldn't class myself as normal, mate, so I've no idea.
Yeah, I don't really know.
That way, but it's purely because there's nobody in that room until when I get home from work and so on. So there really is no point in the lights being on when I don't need to. So I only keep them on for 8 hours, I think it is maximum. I don't keep it on much more than that. So I'm sure it's about 2 o'clock they come on and 10 o'clock they go off.
Yeah, see, I've just looked at my app again and it still says it's 9 o'clock, but for whatever reason this morning they're on at 6, 6:30. So it's a bit weird.
Paul, how long do you keep your lights on for?
So these ones come on probably about 1:30.
Yeah.
And because no one's around, and then they go off about 10:30. That's why the light's always on during the light. It was not for the live stream, but it doesn't matter so much now because I work from home most of the time. But I used to get home like 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then you can't enjoy the tank. So I think it's 10:30, 11 o'clock, but it starts going blue from about 9:30ish. I think I should know considering it's on the live stream. And so it's full light, probably whites for 7.5, 8 hours. And I don't really count the blues that's ramping up and the blues that's ramping down because it's quite low. So, and then the lights are quite white, as you can see. I prefer whiter lights on this tank than I do blue.
Yeah. We're just saying it because I've got mine's on from about 2 o'clock till 10. But Jay's saying that his is on from, what did you say, Jay? 9 till 8:30?
Well, I just do it like the daylight hours of outside, to be honest, pretty much.
So 11.5 hours yours are on for. Because they used to be on early, because you said you put them on at 7 in the morning a few weeks ago.
Now I've changed that. Because I like to be able to see them when I was feeding them in the morning. But now I've changed it to a bit later. I was just trying to match like daylight hours outside, really, so the corals know where, what time zone they're in. Whereas yours,
I think your tank looks good and the corals seem happy enough, so just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they seem pretty happy, but I've probably got a little bit more algae than you two. I don't know. Obviously, I've got the lights on for longer.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I didn't know that people did that. I didn't know people had them coming on at lunchtime.
Yeah, I've always done it that way. And then the 2 tanks in the garage, I think they come on even later. I think they're about 2 o'clock. And then they'll go off, they'll lower light time. I think they go off about 9:30. So they're only on for about 8 hours. And that's all they need. I think it's really the intensity, isn't it? So the intensity is no more than about, when it's at its highest level, probably no more than 4, 5 hours. Then it starts to ramp down. So it's not as if you've got the intensity for 9, 10 hours. How long are your lights, Jay, at the kind of the max intensity when it kind of goes flat and before it goes down?
Let me just have a quick look at it.
And while you're looking at that, just see what people are saying. So you got 12 to 8 here with half hour with moonlights, 25%. White from 2 to 6. Midday to 10 o'clock. I run 8 hours peak, 2 hours ramp either side. That's 12 hours.
So yeah, I was just about to say that one. I've just went and opened mine's up there just now. So mine's is probably, I don't know if this will show up on the screen or not, but
I'll go, wait a minute, let me just take this comment off and I'll go solo so you can see it.
8.
Schedule there. So yeah, it's coming on.
It's about 7.5 hours ramp up. at the max, is it? And then,
Yes. Oh, just get that back on again.
10 till 6 minus.
Julie's got the Ross schedule.
So that's mine's.
Mm.
So it's
And
probably coming on.
What kind of intensity do you go up to, Ross?
So the intensity, the maximum intensity there, that's the levels on it. So
okay, so it goes to you got a combination
60% on the
60.
Royal Blue.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, it's because it's got a small tank, isn't it? So.
But also, you haven't got SPS. You don't necessarily need to blast the corals, do you? It's sufficient light for what you need. Some other people run 12 hours, 2 hours ramp up, 2 hours ramp down, 4 hours full intensity. 8 till 9. And then there was a couple of other comments on there related to it. Let's take you solar. In my main tank, I use a skimmer for aeration during lights out, and I don't use a skimmer anymore for its actual purpose. I've removed the cap and turned it off. So it's basically for pH then, Haley, by the looks of it.
Yeah. I've heard quite a few people doing that recently that run, their skimmer just for pH more than anything.
Yeah. And then I'm on about a wooden air stone 24/7. So it helps with the pH. And then Poetry Witch, blue from 8 to 11, low spectrum 11 to 7, and then blues 7 to half 9. So what's that? It's 13 and a half hours, but there's quite a few hours of ramp up and ramp down by the looks of it.
Yeah.
14 hours with about 6 hours full. So I think there's a real mix there, isn't there? But you've got that core of full light that seems to be kind of 4, 6, 8 hours, which kind of makes sense. You're not totally toasting. Yeah.
Mine's 8 hours.
Yeah, so it's a long time, but you're not roasting them all day long, are you?
No.
No.
I think the key thing is the ramp ups as well. I mean, you take into account that a lot of folk have like a 2-hour ramp up as well, so it's you're not roasting them during that time. You're just letting the light come on naturally, really, aren't you?
Yeah. And then there's another one.
But yeah, I would certainly rather have my lights on later in the day than come on early in the morning, because you can enjoy the tank better at night time, I think, than you can when you're at your work.
And also, if you're not there, you know who you're showing the tank off. You come home and it's all dark. You miss what's going on, and you could actually miss some stuff that's happening and going on. There he is.
There's the man himself.
Oh, he's here.
How's it going?
Yeah, good.
How's it going, guys? You okay?
Yeah.
No
Good, mate,
echoing today, no. No echoing.
Not at the moment. We're okay, Steve.
That's good. That's good. How's things?
Yeah, good. We've just been talking about lights and how long people have their lights on for, ramp up, ramp down, stuff like that. So the tank behind you, what's the light setting like on that for how many hours?
It comes on. It ramps up. It comes on at 8 o'clock in the morning. So, but it's the lights start to come up. It ramps up all the way up to 12. So it's a 4-hour ramp up time, and then it goes from 12 then all the way through to 6, and then 6, and then it starts to cool down, and then it goes off about 9:30. So it's a fairly long day, really. You know, for it, it's about 13 hours, I think, 13 and a half hours. So, but I've always ran that sort of length for time, to be truthful, and yeah, it's used to it. You know what I mean? I haven't really adjusted the lighting setting so much, other than over the past couple of months when I went to that AB setting, which I think is a lot better. A little bit more whiter, which I would never really go for, but looks a lot better. Corals look a lot better as well, so I'm really happy with the way they are.
So what made you change then, Stu?
Well, they disconnected, didn't they? The lights. So I had to reset them all, and then when I reset them all my programs and what I'd saved had gone. It wasn't even on my file. They were completely gone, every one of them. So I think I lost about 25 of them, 26 that I made up. You know what I mean? So yeah, I was a bit peed off with that. I don't know why. I thought it might have been stored to like some sort of cloud, but no, there wasn't in it. I don't know whether it had just completely wiped them. But yeah, it was a bit of a bummer, really. But it is what it is. And then I just thought, you know what? I'll try the AB setting. The Saxby one, not the AB setting, the Saxby one, AB.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about, AB, the Saxby one, the David Saxby one, and I put that on it. And like I said, I just took out the greens and the reds, and it works perfect. I've just lowered the white slightly, but not too much. And like I said, it's doing really good. Really happy with the way it's going.
So is it whiter than the previous setting that you had?
Yeah, I used to only run about 4-5% lights, white on the lights, so very, very little. I think at them, I think during the peak time, I think it's running at about 22% in white, so that's really white, for me, compared to like the 5 that I used to run it at. So, but yeah, it's really good. There's a good balance between the light setting, with it, the way he's done it. But I just tend to stay away from reds and greens because they do have an habit of popping up algae, especially if you've got higher nutrients in your tank. For some reason, they seem to sprout a lot of air algae in your tank. So I stay away from the greens and the reds. I don't know if there's any beneficial thing for having greens and reds in it, to be truthful. I don't know, really. I've never really looked at it. I know like UV is supposed to do something. The blue spectrum does something. But I don't know whether the reds and greens actually do anything. You know what I mean? I don't know. I've never really looked into it.
Yeah, I don't know if they have any natural benefit or whether that's just a mix that you get for a balanced light setting. There probably is something to it, but I haven't looked into it. I just set mine up and then that was it. I've done nothing. That's the same setting since day one of the tank, both in terms of hours and everything else. The only time I've done it in the early days, if I put SPS in, I would do the acclimatization mode on here, which takes it down by kind of 20-25%. Do that for 2 weeks and it gradually ramps up. And I did that more through inexperience and thinking, let's try that, and it was okay. But I haven't done that for quite a while, and that's why I'm not fussed about the apps or anything, because once it's done, it's done.
That's it. And that's the good thing with these lights. What we have now, what we have nowadays, we're very blessed. Us as reefers, like what we can do. Like in the older days, the halides, the metal halides, and all that was just an on and off job.
Yeah,
that wasn't like you could reduce it or anything. It was like an on and an off, and that was it. You know what I mean? And then, and if you look at some of the tanks, what they did, they were stunning tanks. You know what I mean? And yet you think we've got the benefit of being able to adjust it, acclimate our corals and stuff like that. It's like it's crazy, but acclimation mode on them are fantastic. I always used to acclimate, especially when I was putting them all in. New corals into a tank. But now I don't. I just stick them in, lower them down, and then I move them up as when I need to. You know what I mean? Or I ask the shop, where I bought it from, what you're running at, what's your par readings there, roughly, and then they tell you, and then I've got a good idea of what the par readings are in the tank anyway, so I know where to place them or where I think I should place them, and they do tend to work out. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm like you. I put stuff on the sand bed and then move it up to where it is afterwards. So it's kind of taking it. Sorry, God, Jay, you was going to say.
So I just did a little bit of research there for you, Steve, and they're saying that the green spectrum in particular accelerates photosynthesis of the corals, and the green and red helps with coloration of some corals. Obviously, the radians have. Well, I think I've got one green, one red. It must have a benefit. I think here
there must be a reason, mustn't there?
Yeah. Coloration. That's all.
Yeah, there's definitely a reason, but like I know there's definitely a reason for it because, like I said, manufacturers wouldn't add a red light into a thing. They'd rather add another blue or another UV or whatever into it, wouldn't they? You know what I mean? If the red light didn't do anything. But I did know when I was researching, like, especially I think it's more so newer tanks, really. New ones that might have a higher nutrient level, higher phosphates, higher nitrates, and it did say 100%. It can like exponentiate, the growth of algae, like in your tank if you have higher reds and greens in it. So that's what kept me off from putting greens and reds in it, and I've never really ran greens and reds on any of them. So
that does make sense. In that first 12 months, you're more likely to go through different stages of ugly stage, algae, because it's more sterile, isn't it? So you don't have that good bacteria that fights it off, and so therefore it kind of wins the battle of the algae.
I was just looking. Just going
to go for a few comments. So set it and
forget
it. So go on, Jay.
It's just saying as you're going through that ugly stage, perhaps the red lights, like you say, are not going to be good because they do grow the algae, and apparently Chalice don't benefit from red light. So your little rainbow chalice, Steve, will not thank you for that red light.
Stay away from it. I've done a good job by cutting them off, then, mate.
Because you've got your 4 discs next to it now, haven't you? You're kind of cultivating it.
I've took it off that now. I put them on a frag on a little frag there. Let me see. I'll show you.
You had the little 4 discs.
No, well, you know what I actually did, yeah? What I did was I thought to myself, you know, like with these grow out tiles, I thought, like, what could I do? You know, like finger. So my mate said to me, go to that Wix, go to Wix and just get the normal, you know, the ceramic tiles, that you get in bathrooms and stuff like that. So I thought, right, okay. So I had a look about. So this is what I picked up. Let me just take this camera off here. There we go. So look at this, Gap. Look at this.
2 look-arounds in there.
There you go.
So what have you got? Wow, what have you done?
So is that a ceramic tile?
They're ceramic tiles, so they're like hexagon tiles. See what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've just stuck on them. So now I've took it off, and I've just basically put it on. Obviously, the blue's like making it shimmer.
Yeah.
So I've put all of these. I put like the Goniopora one on it, and I put one of it on there. And then
awesome.
at the back there, at the back of it there, you'll see.
Yeah.
I've got some of that Goniopora back there on that little tile over there in the back. You see there? So I'm just going to leave them to grow out on those tiles. And the good thing with it is when they grow out on the tiles, you could just cut the tile up. You know what I mean? And it'll be good to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then just reuse it and put it on another tile, and it'll just keep growing and growing. So that's what I've done. That's what I've done with them. And then obviously just got to snap a few other little bits and bobs off. You know, some of the corals and stuff. So yeah, everything's. This Chalice is insane. Have any of you got a Hollywood Stunner Chalice? Just look at the size of this one now. Look at that. That was the size.
That's grew really quick, hasn't it, mate?
Yeah.
Just look at it's growing up on the rock now. Look at it. It's just stupid.
I can see that. Yeah.
I'm a bit worried about this size now.
Got a lens stick?
Yeah, 1 minute. Let me just see. I'll see if I can pull it.
See the colour of it. It'd be good to see the colour of it.
I don't know how good it'll be. To the truth, with this lens on, because this is one of those cameras, you know, a thingy camera.
It should be all right.
Laptop camera, they're usually all right.
What I'll have to do is I'll have to just put it over it and see whether it works. Just
I think that'll be all right. Let me put you on full screen again. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, that looks nice to see.
Yeah, point it at the top. Yeah, that's a lot better.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Yeah, like that. See it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's that Hollywood Stunner there at the back.
Oh yeah. Is it green? It looks green.
Yeah, it's green with like yellow eyes.
Yeah, yellow. Nice. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Hey, but speaking of green, what colour's that SPS now?
What's what?
What, the yellow one?
SPS that was yellow. Is it still yellow, Steve?
Oh yeah.
You know your prize SPS. Oh,
it looks yellow, doesn't it?
Oh my God, that's ace. That
Beautiful,
is ace.
mate. Yeah,
well done,
really. Mate. It's definitely staying yellow for sure. So
you've done well with that.
I'm doing sort of that, I think. You know
so
what I mean, mate?
Is it growing out or basing out? What's it doing at the moment? Because it was a wild colony, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's actually growing like a more tips, you know, on the end of it. So you can start to see like some new little white tips coming out.
I gotta say, as soon as you get the white tips, you know you're doing well. Because quite often SPS don't do anything, and all of a sudden they base out, and you're thinking this is not growing 1 inch, and then they go out from the bottom, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. It's nice. I mean, and yet the other one, and there's another one there, you know, the Millipora. That you want to see the amount of little tiny little white tips that are coming out from that. All of a sudden, they just seem to be sprouting. And I don't know. I mean, this is what we always say, don't we? Like, you know, when you change something in your tank. So the only thing I've changed. Bloody hell, there's a fly here attacking her. What's all that about? There's a
killer fly.
There's like a fly attacking me here. What's all that about?
That's what it is.
Yeah. So the only thing I've changed is my lights. That's all I've changed. So is it to do with the lights? Is it to do with that Saxby light? I don't know.
Well, if you haven't changed anything else, though, Steve,
I haven't done anything else.
You can argue that is it.
Could do. We always talk about things like the bad sides, don't we? You know, when we change something. So when something's happening, like a coral dies, you could blame the person who sent you out the coral. You could blame the shop, yeah, but then you could also blame your water, and then you say, well, my water's all right. Well, let me test it for this. No. But it's the reverse of it. So, like when something good happens, say for instance, then you think to yourself, well, what have I done? What have I changed here in the tank? I've not done anything different. I do exactly the same. And then you just try and take off a process of elimination. The only thing I've done is just change my lighting to that Saxby. That's it over the past couple of months, and it's seen. So a little bit more growth in it, especially in SPS. So I'm
Steve, there's a good question in the chat just now asking if you got rid of the anemone.
Have I?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, remember the one that was kind of wedged in between the rockwork?
I can't get it, mate. I'm just what I'm doing is I'm actually blasting it, with the water blaster, the bait, the finger. So when it comes anywhere near it, I'm giving it a blast, and it tends to move away for a little bit then, and then it has a bit of a sulk and then comes back again. But he seems to be he's not coming out as far up as he has been. So I'm just going to keep an eye on it. My missus did say to me though, actually, as he split, and I'm like, don't give it to her. Because he's gone that big. But no, it seems to be okay. It seems to be in the right place for the time being anyway.
Yeah. So there's a question here from Hayley. What percentage did you say you ran your reds and greens at, Steve?
None. I don't run any. No.
So they're on 0. So you've ramped them right down. And did you compensate or anything? So did you basically leave the Saxby setting as it is? You took the whites down a little bit, and then you took your greens down to 0 and your reds down to 0. Is that pretty much
exactly
what you did?
how it is?
Yeah,
exactly how it is. Yeah. And the only reason is because, like I said before, I've never run reds and greens on my tank ever. You know what I mean? Even from the beginning, because I read up I read up about it, and I said, "Oh, it can promote algae," and I was like, "Oh, I don't want algae, no chance." So I never ran them. I just dropped them down all the time on it. So I've never run them. So that was the reason why I just adjusted them on that. You know what I mean? No specific reason, just that really. Yeah, but there's nothing on it. No, none of them. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a couple comments back up that I'm going to go back to in a minute, but there's a couple things around Hollywood stunners. And I find this with some Chalice, they grow really, really quick. And then there was another one around tentacles.
Stupidly fast. Yeah.
At night. That just have to be careful on that because they're real stinging. Some are more than others. It's really difficult to tell with Chalice which ones are your real killers and which ones are pretty benign.
Algae Warriors hit the nail on the head. I've actually filmed it. I've actually filmed the sweeper tentacles. I've seen them a few days ago, and I've actually seen it. And when he says 6-inch sweepers, he's not telling no lies. They are massive. And you like, where did it come from? Because it's a plate in it. It's not even like 2 millimeters thick. It's just a plate. These sweeper tentacles are absolutely huge, and I know exaggeration.
They're so aggressive. Chalices
massive,
can be.
Mate.
But you'll find with your Hollywood stunner, because it's about halfway up, isn't it? If that was lower down, you get a different coloration. And I find that the higher you put Chalices, the more washed out they look. I'm not saying that's washed out, but as you put it down, you grow a color. I
probably agree. I probably agree. The only reason it was is because I've got that cyanurina down on the bottom, that big cyanurina in the bottom corner. Yeah. Otherwise, I would have put it down there and let it grow up, the side of the tank maybe. It's away from everything. It wouldn't have been bothering anyone. And I would have done that, but that was the only reason. But you are right. I think it does look more washed out than I have seen some of Hollywood stunners, for sure. You can still see the greens and the yellows, but not as bright as I have seen some, for sure. But it is what it is. It's just another piece to the tank. You know what I mean? It's doing well anyway. It's growing. So that's the main thing.
Yeah. So just changing the subject a bit, there's a question here. Getting a new tank tomorrow, would you go for Red Sea or Clarity roller filter? Now, I've seen videos on the Red Sea one, but I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't say about how good or bad it is. And I suppose it depends on the size of the tank. When you change it, doesn't the arm swing on the Red Sea? You have to bring it forward. So I suppose you'd have to have enough headroom in your tank to be able to swing it across. But I mean, I'd like to try it, but I'd like to see it in the flesh. But I don't know whether it's any good or not. Is that
I actually watched the Red Sea guy. The actual. I don't know if it's a CEO or whatever. Demonstrating it.
Yeah.
And they is it me? Is it me or did it look massive? They look absolutely ginormous.
They do, yeah.
I didn't know whether the guy was tiny, like really small. You know what I mean? He made it look big. You know what I mean? I don't know how big he is. I might have to
tomorrow
email him.
I think he is quite tiny, to be fair.
You know,
I think he is quite tiny, but
mate, it looks huge. It looks huge, and I was like, oh my god, if you put that in a sump, it'd take up half your sump, like, you know. But they do look good. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's just too the way he was doing it. You had to take this part out, unscrew this, pull that, and I thought, no. Listen, I put a couple of staples in that, 3 staples in, press the button, roll it on, and it's out, mate. That's it.
Well, I do quite like the fact that it notifies you when you're getting near the end of the roll and all that kind of stuff. That's quite good feature. But if you could combine that and the new Chalice model, maybe then, great.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, how's your Chalice getting on? Just to drop you in it, mate.
Mine's fine. So I actually managed to fit it a little while ago, as you know, and I put it all together, all the parts, much to Steve's disbelief about how many parts there actually there are. I'm sticking by that. I had to put it together, right?
You remember that story, Steve? It's like, I made a Chalice.
Put it together, it came ready made.
It's a sad day when I'm getting ripped by Jay over putting something together.
There's a rare opportunity, so I took my chance.
I know. So to answer the question, it's fine. It's good. I mean, it's behaving pretty much like the Gen 2 did. It works well, and it's keeping the water cleaner than it did before. So I'd recommend the Chalice. I know you would as well, Steve. I mean, I haven't had to change a roll yet, so that's the key for me around the the new version. Is it easier to change, or will I make a dog's den of it like I usually do? So. That's kind of decided.
I think if you get a new tank, a big tank, a decent sized tank, 300, 350, 405, whatever, you must get a Chalice. You must get a filter roller. I would never, if I got a big tank, another big tank, there's no way. The first thing I would do is fit a filter roller in. That's the first thing I'd do. I wouldn't even, before I put water in it, fit a filter roller, get it straight from scratch, fit it in straight away. Because they just save so much time.
You wouldn't need to run it though, because you've got no nutrients.
No, but you when you feed your fish and all that, some food goes down and all that, because remember that down the chain, down the overflow. So what that does is, because it's plumbed into mine, it automatically catches that fish food, that extra fish food, so it's not going to settle in the sump, which then cause like detritus and a load of muck and all, and then maybe a spike in your nutrients over time. But it's just so much easier. It just catches everything. And like I said, I've got mine open because obviously I had lower nutrients, and then all of a sudden I had high nutrients, and I'm like, how's this? So I don't know whether something's died in my tank or what. I don't know what happened. But when I say high nutrients, like 22 ppm mine were reading a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, holy, what the hell is this? I've never had above 20 in my life ever on a reef, so I don't know what happened.
Your corals look good though, Steve, did they not?
I'm not pardon?
Your corals look good though.
Yeah, exactly. And then I was saying I've got high nutrients, and this guy replied to me on Instagram saying mine's high when they're reading at 80, and I'm like, holy moly, like 80, 80 is pretty high, mate. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like they're not too high. So, but they look good. I've just started to reduce it a little bit, So I actually, for the first time, I started dosing some of the aquaforest, the aquaforest stuff, the nitrophos, literally 2 mil a day, just to drop it down. Yeah, I only want to drop it down to. I said I prefer about 11, 10, about 10 to 15 will be fine. But I didn't want it too high. But like Ross said, corals look really good with it. You know what I mean? And they do need nutrients in the tank for sure. So, you know what I mean? With phosphates are sitting perfect.
How long would you wait to put your filter roller on then, or would you put it on from day one?
So I had mine on, but I had the gate open. So
you can have the gate open on it.
So I didn't have it running, so it took the nutrients out. Because to your point, you then bottom out the nutrients, you then cause other algae and stuff like that. So it's one of those we've discussed before. If you I set the filtration up, didn't have the skimmer on, I had the gate open, I had hardly any filtration running. And then once I hit, I think it was about 10 nitrates. So past the cycle, it settles down. Once it was above 10, then I closed the gate. And then, because I also tried to have an algae refugium, but it just died. It wouldn't grow. But then it took me 6 months before the refugium would kick in, because then I had nutrients to feed that, and that was only after I opened the gate. So you have to. I think you have to be careful. You put your bioballs in, you put your skimmer, you put your Chalice or whatever. You haven't got enough nutrients. And you're probably not going to load your fish from day one. Some would, but most people probably wouldn't. So to your point, Jay, I'd have it set up from day one, but I'd have the gate open.
Yeah.
I agree. The temptation is when you've got a new tank, you've got all this filtration, you just want to put it in, don't you?
Absolutely.
Your fancy skimmer, your Chalice, all looks to bee's knees, but you've got no nutrients or any exports to take out, so you've got to be really careful.
And that's why I think a lot of people are getting dinos and stuff like that from day one.
Yeah.
Or they're having problems with corals because the tank is starving and stuff takes over. So that's the problem. So just going back to the Bucks Reef, Red Sea Reefer 350. I suppose the issue with a Chalice, with a Red Sea Reefer, you're going to have to mess about with the sump. Whereas if you get the Red Sea one, I think it plumbs straight in. Because Steve, you had to mess around with your Red Sea for your Chalice. How did you do it?
Yeah, you've got to cut it all out. You've got to cut the baffle. The filter sock holders. That's why I bought mine, didn't I? Yeah, obviously while my tank was running, and then I thought, you know what, I'm going to add it, and it's the worst mistake you can do, because I had to drain all the sump water out into the buckets. Yeah, then I had to cut it, and then you had to scrape oh mate, it was an absolute night. I was just like, why did I start this? But then once it's in and it's plumbed, you're like, yeah, God, I'm so glad it's done. You know what I mean? But that's why I say I would definitely, and go back to your point there, Paul, I would definitely just plumb it in, open the gate valve up. Don't even switch on. You don't even need to switch on. Don't plug it in. Yeah, just leave it off. And then just open the gate valve, let the water flow through it. And all it's doing is it's just coming down the overflow through the Chalice straight into the sump. It's not even doing anything because it won't be switched on. And all the nutrients will get building up, because like you said, the worst case is to start off like with it on and then take bottoming out your nutrients, then you're going to get cyano, you're going to get everything. It's just going to be a nightmare. And no, you just really don't want to do that. But plumb it in and don't run it. That's all I would do, definitely. 100% on a new system.
So someone's saying with the existing Red Sea sumps, they need to be modified for the filter roller. So you'd have to probably wait. I'm assuming at some point they'll bring a Gen 4 out, and the Gen 4 sump would then be plug and play with the filter, the roller filter. Otherwise, what's the point? That was the appeal for me on the DD Reef Pro. That all I did was get the Chalice, put it underneath the down pipe, and it's fitted. There's no modification. All the pipes are cut with that in mind. So that to me was a brilliant idea. I didn't have to cut anything out for it. So that was plug and play.
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
Right, so I'm just going back up because Hayley has put a comment that I'm tempted to frag my octospawn. It has 38 heads, but it's so pretty. I don't want to alter its shape, but it's taken up so much real estate. So I had the similar issue with, you remember the colony of candy cane I had? That is no longer. I still got some of the parts. So what I did with that, when I used to cut it, I used to just cut some small bits off around the side to try and keep its shape. There's no way you can keep the shape you had before, but then what happen, it grows out a little bit and it's fine. And I think with an octospawn, because they've got tentacles and that, you could probably cut some stuff around the edges, and then when it comes back, it'll probably be okay. But I mean, I think she said it's 6. Did I say 6 years old? So fair play for keeping the coral alive for 6 years and to grow it out as well.
How big is 38 heads? Is it like a dinner plate or something? Is it that sort of size?
That'll be. Yeah, it won't surprise me. Yeah. It'll be a big size.
That's the thing, you see so many like people that have really, really nice colonies, and you think, it'd be great to get a frag off that, but then the colony would look terrible once you've taken a frag or two frags off or so on. So it's one of them that if you get a nice colony like that, you really don't want to frag it, do you?
No, that's why I've been resistant to closing stuff down, but I've just had to. I've fragged some bubble coral this week, about 5 pieces of that, and I've got about another 5 to do. It looks awful now. It looks, and I'm just gutted because it was lovely coral. And now it just looks like it's been hacked, which of course it has been hacked. because it was attached to rock and stuff like that. But yeah, I know the pain.
I'm going to ask how you're getting on with the tank breakdown, actually, Paul, because it looks like it's Bearer again. If that's Bearer,
yeah. So there.
More Bearer now.
So
like
right there, the colony that was on the base of SPS that's on the base that was actually poking out the top of the water, that is no longer. So that's all been cut up. I've given 4 or 5 colonies, we'll say colonies, probably bits of about 6 inches long, branching pieces to people I know locally. The base of it was dead because there was no light. So that, I must admit, I was not looking forward to doing that. But when I cut one bit, it just fell apart. So I was gutted because that's basically, anyone who's got a Red Sea reefer, when it was sitting on the sand bed and the top of the tips were poking out the top. That's how, and that was over 7 years old. That,
surely they're brown. Surely they're brown.
At the bottom they were because there was no light.
No. But the ones poking out the water, they must have dried out.
No, they weren't. They weren't brown at all.
No.
Because there was quite a lot of movement on the top. They were still staying wet.
Water,
the water was still but they was actually poking out only by a centimetre max.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, so you're breaking it down, it still looks full of the mine, to be fair.
A lot of that is rock. So I've got loads of mushrooms over on the far right hand side. Got some bubble coral to do. A massive Stylophora colony that's probably about 7 inches in diameter. That's got to be smashed up. And then I've got a chalice that's about 1 foot in diameter that I haven't got rid of either. But there's not many colonies left. And then I've got a Zoa that's got about 50 heads on it as well. But it's gradually going. So
I think I've worked out what's going on here, right? You've been told to break that down, haven't you, Paul? But
no.
you can't come to it. Look, he can't. It's breaking his heart.
I haven't.
He can't come round to doing it. So he's doing it ever so slowly. And when he gets asked, how's it going? Like, are you breaking it down? He's like, yeah, I'm breaking it down. It's getting done. It's getting done.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to break it down, does he? I can tell.
No, do I want to break it down? No, I don't. But it's because of building work. So Jill hasn't said anything about it. She wanted to keep the big colony. She didn't want that smashed up.
Yeah.
And then she's talking about actually, do we get a 6-foot peninsula along here?
Wow.
I don't really want a 6-foot tank, to be honest. But yeah. So we'll see what happens as a new tank on that one. But it is slowly going. But I've got to make some room in the other tanks to get, because there's a big Christmas tree favia about that large. That's got to move over now. I've got nowhere to put it, and there's no way I'm cutting it up. It's the size of a large ostrich egg, I would say.
Wow!
You just need to set up another tank, Paul.
I'm not going to do it. I've got 2. I've got 3. I'm going down to 2, and I'll be okay with that until I decide what I do long term. But yeah.
Thing is with your nanos, they're so much easier just to run, aren't they? And I like Ross. My week's been a bit like Ross's. They just run themselves pretty much now. Keep your hand out. There was a Reef Builders video this week about the Red Sea Max Nano, and they barely touch it, and it just runs itself.
Yeah.
And these little nanos, once you get past that year mark and it's cycled and settled, you don't need to do anything apart from feed the fish.
Yeah.
Top up the water, 10% water change every week or 2, and it just sits there, doesn't it, Ross?
Yeah. I mean, mine's is probably the most simple tank on the go just now. I mean, I don't do dosing, I don't do anything like that. It's just filter floss. There's no skimmer, there's no nothing. I do my weekly water change. Now, to be fair, I do a bigger water change than I probably should. I do a 10-litre water change, which is probably about 20%. I do that every single week. And yeah, like you say, I mean, I had issues all the way up, and until I get to about the 13, 14 month mark, it seems to, touch wood anyway, it seems to be going pretty smooth now, and everything seems to just kind of flow steady. So I think it takes that long to settle out, and then as long as you're not adding loads of coral or adding livestock or taking things away, then it should, in theory, if you keep that pattern going of doing your weekly water changes and the same maintenance all the time, then it should settle out and be fine after then, and that's really when you can sit back and enjoy it. But I mean, I didn't realise quite how long it would take when I first started. I thought, people say, oh, it'll take a while for it to stabilise, and I thought 3 or 4 months, that'll be it done. But no, I mean, it really is over a year that you need to wait. And once you hit that mark, like you say, between kind of 12 months to 14 months, I would say, is where it starts to level out. And then, it's definitely better then.
Yeah, I do wonder in that first 12 months, if you're adding fish and you're adding corals, we say it takes 12 months to stabilize that part of it, because you're building out the tank and you're adding things. It could be if he wasn't adding things, it would be okay. But because every time you put a coral and fish in, that has an impact, doesn't it? It might be small, but it has a knock-on effect with other things. So maybe it's maybe it's that.
There's a comment there from Rudra asking. Sorry, mate. There's a comment from Rudra asking, "Do I see growth? Notice when I didn't dose, there was no massive growth. Everything was just stable." So I would kind of agree with that. I don't have massive growth in the corals in the tank. They are quite stable. They do grow, and they grow. I mean, they grow heads on them, but not as quick as I see other people's grow. But I'm happy with that because it's a small tank. You know, if they grew really quickly, I would be out of space within a matter of months. Whereas I'm quite happy just to let it grow out quite slowly, and then it's a bit more enjoyable that way rather than maxing out and going, well, that's that tank full, and to chop things up now and so on. So if I can get it to grow the speed it's at, I'm really happy with that. I'm okay with that, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough.
You're right.
I think that 14 months mark, what you said there, Ross, I couldn't agree more. That's when mine had enough bioload to cope with like the changes that you do. Made a big difference. And my corals are the same. They don't grow that very fast at all, but I have noticed my torches splitting far more often now than they used to do.
That's good.
I know it's good, it's nice, but I say all my colonies of torches have all split in the last month into new heads, and they're starting obviously to form. That's one thing I have noticed, is it got a bit more stable. But I was going back to your point, Paul. I couldn't agree. In that first 12 months, when your tank's quite vulnerable and unstable, that's when we're adding everything, isn't it? And that's why it puts so much pressure in that early stage, because we want to put the coral in, we want to put the fish in. And even when your tank's mature, like Steve's or whatever, yours, Paul, you do notice when you put a few bits in at the same time, you still notice a little bit of a change, don't you?
What is that?
I don't know.
TV. That's yours, Steve.
What's up?
You got the TV on your laptop.
You watching the TV, Steve?
I've got no TV on though. Me? I've not got the whole TV on though.
He's not even watching the live stream. He's got the telly on.
I've not got the TV on.
He's watching someone else's live stream.
What do you mean? How? I can't hear it.
It's like Coronation Street or something, Steve.
No.
He's pleading innocent.
TV's not on. TV's not on, mate.
I'm only winding you up, mate. I'm only winding you up. I did hear TV then, or whatever it was.
Yeah, I thought
it's not my TV, mate. It's not my TV. I guarantee you that right now.
Right, I've got a little bit behind
I'm always getting the blame for everything here.
Yeah, usually is you.
It's either what is it? It's either I lose signal or God, everything. Yeah, it's so it would be.
I just like winding you up, mate. To be honest.
Right, I'm just going to go through a few comments, going way behind. Then I'm going to go answer a couple of questions.
It's watching Miss Marple.
Someone's put in there about alkalinity and the levels of alkalinity. I'll come back onto that because someone has put a question on Instagram for us to cover, and it does cover that amongst other things. So I'll come back to that in a moment. I think it's Macadaz. Right, listen, if you're putting a clearance in a reefer, put a gate valve in as well. That's a good point. The gate valves on Red Sea reefer tanks are not the best. I know Reef Dogs put a gate valve on his, and he's done a video, but I must admit that would be a good investment by Red Sea to put a decent one on there, because sometimes it's hard to balance it. Haley's put around, survived 4 tank swaps, dropped it on the floor, so it sounds pretty hardy.
Yeah.
And there's another one about the new Red Sea diaphragm. I don't know. I've got Gen 1s on mine, so maybe I'm being unfair to Red Sea, and maybe they have improved them. There you go. When some corals grow like crazy, take them to the local fish shop store. Toadstool. There's quite a few about alkalinity, and I just want to come back to those in a minute if I
don't know what that is.
Do you see? I think you've answered that one already.
Yeah.
Tempted to run my water box Peninsula 15. Is that the 15? Is that what you've got, Ross? Or is it the 25 you've got?
It's the same as mine, yeah.
Yeah.
A Goni tank. You know what? I absolutely love Gonis at the moment. That's what I'm really interested in.
I think Gonies will be the new torches. I think they're going to take over the torches and people will start going for more Gonies now.
You get the same effect, don't you? The movement, the sway, and the colours as well, just as vibrant. I'm a big Goni fan at the moment, but you can't. The special ones are still hard to get hold of. I can't find many of them.
That's what I was going to say. That the Gonies that you get in America are incredible compared to the ones that we get here. We get very dull colours, and the ones in America are unreal.
Yeah. I think it depends where you are, because Mixed Reefer, who comes on here and he's on Instagram, he's got some really decent ones, some bright red, some gold colour ones. But yeah, you see some of the ones in the States that are insane. How much they've been photoshopped, I'm not sure, but I know what you mean. You can get some really decent ones on there. Right, so I'm at the bottom of the comments. I'm just going to go to Instagram and Reef Ports. I don't know what Reef Ports name is on YouTube because I haven't seen Reef Ports. So it just says, just wondered if you tonight could you chat a little about water parameters, maybe what you test, what you dose, and what you use to log. What kind of systems do you use to log it? So how do you track it, I suppose? So first of all, what water parameters do you have? So what do you keep, Steve, your water parameters? Just the kind of the basic ones, I suppose.
Well, first things first is whenever I test my tank, I log it onto that aquatic log. You know the aquatic log site, yeah. I log onto that app.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the app that I use, which I log onto. But the real main ones that I have started to test more of now is nitrates. That's no brainer. The alkalinity tests on the KH Keeper anyway, so I don't need to test for that. It just comes up on the machine. And my pH, I've been testing a lot of my pH, because since I've had the Hannah checker, just checking on the Hannah check, and it seems to be really stable at the same time. I've written it down, and at the same time when I've tested, it's exactly the same. You know what I mean? So definitely, we talk about it, and I'm not going to go over it again with Ross about like pH probes and how inconsistent they are because they are crap.
Yeah.
Do not believe in them. They do because they're just not right. Yeah, they're not 100%. Unless you're getting a £10,000 one or something like that. Yeah, then I wouldn't even believe them. So I mean,
what is Jay doing? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Steve. He's on his
knees. What's he doing?
You know what?
You can ask me what my parameters are.
Do you know what? I didn't ask him first. I should have asked him first. He's got the umps. I didn't go to him first, so he's trying to steal the show.
No.
He's frantically panicking, trying to go and do some tests to find out what his tank's at now.
Yeah, right. We've just been talking about how stable the tank is, so I don't need to worry about it. I've just been on the Aquarium Note app. You know my little app here that I'll use, Aquarium Note. And I haven't tested my parameters since the 2nd of March.
Flipping heck, it's like your update. It's like your updates on YouTube, that mate.
What 2021? Go on, sorry, Steve. Go on.
I better check my alkalinity for a start.
Yeah, his alkalinity about 6.2 or something. But yeah, no, like I said, nitrates, pH. And the phosphates, they're the only ones really that I test for. I don't really test for anything else now. The calcium and the magnesium, I'd very, very rarely test for them. Very rarely test for them. If for instance, I've got a spare 10 minutes or something, then I might test it. But if not, the time is more important than testing. So I'd rather just not. I just leave it to it. You know what I mean? And I always believe if your alkalinity is stable, everything else fits into place. So that's the way. That's the motto I go off. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, and can you just repeat again? What is the app that you use to log all of the parameters?
Aquatic log it is. It's where is
That's what I use as well, Steve. It's actually really good, isn't it?
So it's aquatic
log,
and then obviously it's on the Google Store or App Store. You use.
It's It's who's the designer of it? Who's the thing behind it? He's got a YouTube channel. What's his name now?
I don't know.
Oh, I can't think.
I use
If
a
you go on,
log and it's really good.
Aquatic log. I have to look.
You can bring up like all your tank, so it brings up all your tank. You can put, but it brings up where your parameters are. Yeah, you can actually there's more into Rust. Like you can test for boron, you can test for iodine, you can test for anything, mate. There's a whole list of what you can
comes
put
up
down.
with like a little.
I mean, I just put you on full screen,
so it shows you like what your readings are at and so on. And
that's pretty good.
You can log everything
really
so you can see.
And it's all on one page as well. I suppose you can scroll down to get the others.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Is that Android?
But yeah, it's really good.
Android,
it is Android that I use, mate. But and like that. So, like Steve said there, I only really test. Well, I do only test my phosphate, nitrate, and alkalinity. I don't test anything else really at all. You're lucky if I test the others maybe once every couple of months or so. But if I'm not having any issues, then I don't bother. But as you'll have seen there, I mean, my phosphate the last time I tested it was at 0.76. My nitrate was at 40. So I mean, they're really high.
0.76.
Yep.
Holy moly!
My tank looks really healthy.
It's mad, isn't it? It's mad.
That is nuts.
And I mean, the tank is so healthy, and everything seems to look really good. So that's when you see those people saying, "Oh, it needs to be lower than that. It needs to be lower than that." Maybe that's true. Maybe it does need to be lower than that. But I'll find that out for myself. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But I'm going to leave it, and I'm going to see how it goes. As long as it's stable. The corals seem to be looking really healthy. It seems to be growing well. I mean, everything seems to be doing good. So, I don't know, mate. I'm gonna let it run at that, and almost have it as an experiment.
It just goes to show, like, remember like when I first started in the hobby and all that, and it's not long ago. It was only 3.5 years ago. There used to be a big mindset of like, the higher the nutrients, do not run it at this high. You must have it at 5 ppm and 0.01 phosphates. And I think, and everybody used to say that. And over the past 3.5 years, I'm beginning to see it less and less and less now. The more and more people I see is people saying, well, you need more nutrients in your tank, whether it's SPS dominated or whether it's LPS or whether it's softies or a mixed reef. It doesn't matter. You still need some sort of nutrients in your tank for it, because really your corals are starving if you've got nothing in it. You know what I mean? You've got supplement
that's your coral food.
And I'm seeing more and more. And it just goes to show like you there. You know what I mean, Ross? 0.76 phosphates. By rights, it should be dead. You know what I mean? In theory, you know what I mean? But it's thriving. So,
but you've got to bear in mind as well that I don't keep SPS. I only keep softies and LPS.
No.
You know, it's
but
a
that's
total
fine.
different
That reflects what you're doing, though, doesn't it? And also, I think if you went from really low to 0.7, you would shock the corals. And quite often, it's not what the levels are; it's how slowly or quickly you've got to those levels that you take it up or you take it down that causes the problem. And also, is there a balance between nitrates and does it drive algae as well? Which at the moment,
what I will say is I've got absolutely no algae whatsoever in the tank. I mean, my tank has none at all, and has had none for a couple of months now. Whereas before, when I ran it at quite low levels, I had nothing but problems with algae. So, you know, now I don't have any, and I did get some. So I got 2 new torches and a couple of zoas and so on. Probably going back about 3-4 weeks ago now, and they look healthier than ever. And that's them straight in this tank. You know, I've done my acclimation and so on, but they're in there and they look fantastic. So, you read everywhere that, you know, it must be, you know, your nitrate's 10, your phosphate's 0.1 even, whatever. But mine's run. And what I will say is, I mean, I've done a couple of videos where I've mentioned my higher nutrients. It's the amount of people that's reached out to me and said, thank God for that. I run mines at that level and I was panicking. I was worried, but they look good. I think a lot of people run higher nutrients, and we all feel this pressure to say, you know, oh, mine's isn't that high. I've got nothing to hide. I'll tell you mine's is that high. That is what it is, and the tank looks great. So why we feel this need to say, you know, oh, it needs to be really low, it needs to be really low. If your tank looks good, then it's telling you it's happy. That's the way I look at it.
And lie about it, you know, just to make people happy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh,
8.2, that's good,
8.2. That's pretty good. And your salt has that kind of alkalinity as well, doesn't it? Because
I use Shopping Marine Pro salt.
Spot on that.
Spot on that, mate. 10th of Feb, it was 8.3. The one that I did last, 3rd of March, was 8.1, and now it's 8.2. So it's sitting between 8.1 and 8.3, my tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
If it, like you say, if it doesn't look, that's why I don't test. It's not that I'm lazy. It just looks okay. So I don't. I've got the Duncan, and I swear by that Duncan. And if the Duncan looks happy,
Yeah.
it's all
It's true,
fluffed
that.
up.
Yeah.
It's a good sign,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't.
I'll tell you something else about my tank just now as well. So I've
Yeah.
obviously got the Duncans, and they've grew quite a lot of new heads. And my clownfish are now hosting the Duncans, and they still look incredible. So the clownfish are in there all the time pestering them. And I thought, when I first seen it, I thought, that's going to be the end of the Duncans. They'll close up all the time. They'll be annoyed. They'll be hacked off with the clowns being in them. And they look fantastic. And the clownfish are in there all the time, right in the middle of them. And, you know, if your Duncans are telling you the tank's fine, like you say, Jay, then, yeah, I'm
wouldn't
happy
be
with
without
that.
a Duncan. I wouldn't be without one now. In any time.
That's the very first coral that I added to that tank was a Duncan.
Yeah, I remember.
And I'll do the same time and time and time again. I'll add a Duncan straight away.
Yeah, the great Duncans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good indicator.
So underrated. So underrated Duncan corals, you know. People, you know, you look at them and they're cheap, but they're cheap coral, but they bring out something in a tank, you know what I mean?
I agree.
They're really nice as well, to be fair.
I think they're great.
They look great. They've got a bit of movement about them, you know. I think they're fantastic.
I've also found that you can keep them high up and you can also keep them low down.
Yeah.
But again, what I found, because when I had the colonies over here and I you know, broke that up, I've still got right at the very top a piece, and on the bottom I've got a piece, and the coloration between the top and the bottom, you can see there's a significant difference between them. And actually the one that's higher up has got more popping colors than the ones that's on the sound bed. They're both doing really, really well. But even with something like that, the different light and the flow makes a difference to the color, and it's come from the same colony as well. Coming back to
I was just looking.
Yeah, go on, Steve.
Go on. No, sorry. No, I was just looking at some of the comments there, and like Cottage Reef has said, as well as Howard, as well as like it's not about chasing the numbers. It's rather about the stability, and it is. It just comes back to stability. You know what I mean? People are so obsessed and focused on hitting a certain number that when it goes out of it, or goes adrift from it, they go, "Oh my god, panic!" And then what they do is they then say to themselves, "Oh my god, my nutrients are 30 ppm now, but I only run 10." So what they do is they shock the system and they try to drop it down quick, and that's the worst thing you could ever do in a tank, because I guarantee you, you're going to get a hell of a lot more. You're going to get a hell of a lot more problems by dropping things down so fast, because your tank won't know how to react, and that's the problem. Just stick to, like you said, just if your tank's happy, you see numbers which are out of the realms of what you're following. Doesn't really matter. Your tank's happy, and like you said, if you've got a Duncan coral, it'll tell you whether it's happy or not. Because if it's not, it'll curl up and it'll just won't come out for weeks. You know what I mean?
So we've all tried to chase numbers. I mean, I have at the start, and you try and chase it, and you try and chase it, and it's low, then it's high, and it's all over the place. And now, I mean, it took me over a year, but I'm now at the stage of saying, it is what it is. If my tank looks happy,
it is what it is. Yeah, you do. You live with that then. Yeah.
The only thing I started doing was checking magnesium, because I had that problem in the 170 and I lost a couple of corals. So whereas I went months without checking magnesium, I'm now a bit cautious about not checking it. But that's because I haven't got a doser working properly on there. I think if you do the same routine with the same corals, then you probably can, from a magnesium and a calcium, leaving it as it is. I just had a few problems when the doser wasn't working as it should. Now I've dialed it back in. I'm still testing, but I'll probably go to every 2 weeks soon on that. But I've been doing every week, and it's pretty solid at 1450. But I like it. I like a higher magnesium.
If your torches don't look happy, check your magnesium. That's what was wrong with mine as well. It's a big sign that you've not got enough magnesium in your system. I was going to ask a question. Do any of you dose? I mean, I dose iodine. Do any of you lot dose it? Because I think that makes sense.
Iodine is the reason why I can keep. Iodine is the reason why I can keep Gonioporas. A guy, Matt Brown, who goes to Cracker Corals, he was there. I think he was at the meet as well. He was He was at both of the meets. Matt Brown. He was saying to me, you wanted to see some of the Gonioporas that he kept. They were the size of footballs. They were massive, and I was like, oh my god. And I said, I can't keep them in my tank. And he said to me, dose iodine, and strontium into your tank, and you'll see the difference. Just one drop, every couple of days. Just one drop in it. That's all you need to do. And I was like, will it be okay? Like, trust me. I said, right, no problem. So I went ahead with him. I said, you know what? I'm going to trust this kid. And I swear to God, they've gone from tininess to like what they are now. They just ballooned up, mate. And finally, touch wood, I feel like I can keep Gonioporas. They're all alive. All three of them are still alive. So I definitely strontium and iodine in that. And I literally dose one drop literally every 2 or 3 days. That's it. You know what I mean?
I'm
And
the same.
Keeps it sweet. It does. It's perfect.
A couple of drops, and I've noticed the colours so much better from all the corals, just with a couple of drops a week. Mine is because obviously I got a small tank, but yeah, the Gonies love it as well, don't they? They absolutely love it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, if I do an ICP and it needs adjusting, but what I've started doing again is doing regular water changes, and I don't think I have that many corals that are that dependent on iodine. I'm not saying they wouldn't look better if I dosed it, but I've got one Goni and that seems to do okay. Now I could potentially start dosing iodine just in case, and it starts to improve. And see how that goes. Yeah. So I could. So I haven't really in the past. I do ICP every 3 months, and those kind of parameters, the minor elements. Having said that, I used to do the Red Sea colours, the A, B, C, and D on the tank there, and I used to dose that every day according to the calcium uptake, and the corals look really good. So that was iodine as well, but then it had all the minor potassium and strontium and all those kind of ones. And I got to say, I thought that the tank looked really good at that time when I did that. But that was, if I go back, that was probably when the tank looked its best, which was probably around up to about 2020. So I think it did help at the time, to be fair on that side. Right, I'm just going to see what other comments we've got here. What's the last thing low in my ICP?
Yeah.
They're about clowns living toxic green mushrooms and pulsing xenia. Yeah, I've seen them in pulsing xenia. Good comment by Nick about stability, 2 types. You've got stability we're talking about, but also ratios around where one goes up or down. It affects other parameters as well. So that's a good point. We don't really talk about that too much. We look about the individual ratios rather than something that has an impact on something else. Another one there. Bingo. I play to a range, but I think we probably all do within a certain range. And then I want to come back up to
He's got a new logo there. He's got a new logo, I'm sure he has.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I think that's a different logo from he had before, isn't it?
Yeah, he's got a new logo. That's cool.
Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
So this is something we touch upon quite a bit, which is how do we run our tanks and how different they are? Because one of the things we do know, there are so many different ways to run a tank. And you see, I don't go on Facebook so much as I used to, but quite often there'd be arguments around, I run my tank this way, and that's kind of the only way to do it. But as we know, there's numerous ways of doing it. So welcome, Kenny. This is your first time on the live stream, so thanks for watching. So he runs Triton method, no sockets or roller mat. So if I come to you first, Jay, and then because your Nano has yours set up.
Which bit in particular is it? Just
what the different setups are. So I suppose skimmer, no skimmer, that kind of thing.
So mine's all in one. It does have a small skimmer built in. I dose alkalinity, calcium, magnesium each day, just small amounts. That's about it, really. Filter floss and filter sock, a bit of biomedium.
Yeah. And how often do you do a water change, Jay?
Every week. This is what I think is key. Every week, 10%. That's what I always do.
We'll come on to Steve in a minute with these water changes.
Small amounts, but don't miss it. That's what I think it is.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Ross, can we go over to you?
For me, I would agree with Jay. For me, anyway, in my tank, water changes are key for me. So I don't run a skimmer. I don't run anything like that. Mine's is very, very simple. All I've got in the first chamber, so mine's an all-in-one tank, and in chamber 1, I've got a 3D printed filter floss cup with some filter floss in it. Flows through that into chamber 2, where I've got some activated carbon in a little bag. Flows down through some max spec bio balls, and then it goes into my last chamber where I've got my heater and so on, and that is it. There's no skimmer, there's no anything. It's literally just filter floss, activated carbon, and max spec bio balls. I do a 20% water change every single week, which is only 10 litres, so it's not massive. Do that every week, and that is it. I don't dose anything, I don't add anything. You know, I've tried dosing different things in the past manually, but I'm now at a stage where I don't add anything at all. I feed the fish, and that is literally it. So it's probably as simple as you can get, but for me, it's working. I'm managing to keep things okay. It looks good, so yeah, I'm sticking with that. And if I can keep it as simple as possible, I'll enjoy it more, I think. Whereas when I start to get, you know, more complicated and I'm worrying about things, then does it take the enjoyment out a little bit? I don't know. Yeah, I could probably make it easier on myself by doing that, but then you start to panic, you know, if your dosing's not set up right and everything. So, I mean, for me, all I know that my auto top off adds water in, and that's literally it. I don't do anything else other than that.
Okay, thank you. So, Steve, what about your setup?
Well, first thing, thanks for joining us, Kenny. Hope you're enjoying it. First time. Mine, I run a Red Sea Reefer 350 behind. I have everything that I do not need to do anything with my tank. So basically, I run the Chalice. The Chalice is directly plumbed in to my tank. Goes through there. It goes. Then I have a Red Sea skimmer, the 300. And then if my phosphates are high, I have a Nios Talk, which is just sitting behind the skimmer. And then I only put the phosphate median in it if my nutrients are, especially if phosphates are higher than they need to be, then I just run it. Oh, like now, it's not even on. I've got it down to where I want it, and it's not even on now. So I've switched it off. And then obviously I run a J-Bow DC 4000 pump, which I've had since day one, which is 3.5 years ago when I started the hobby. And then I don't do any water changes whatsoever. I haven't done a water change for 2.5 years, so water changes are not my be all and end all for sure. So, and yeah, the water seems fairly stable, so that's what I tend to, and that's it. That is about it, really. Other than feeding the fish, I don't really. I never put my hand in the tank. Very rarely I put my hand in the tank. Now I found that out for sure. You know what I mean? Because we all forget, like when we have a wash, say for instance, yeah, and you come out the shower and then you see a coral on the floor or something, and what do? First thing you do, put your hand in, don't you? You know what I mean? And it's like, so yeah, that's about it. That is all I really do. I don't do anything other than let the tank run itself. Oh, and it runs on an Apex, which is great because it keeps me up to date. It monitors the tank. So
your
that's
tank
it.
doesn't need you, does it, Steve? Your tank doesn't need you.
No. And you know what? That is my motto, mate. If I can just sit back and enjoy the tank and not do anything with it, just enjoy it. That's all we're in the hobby for, is to enjoy it. You know what I mean?
That's one thing I will agree with you on there, Steve. The less you touch your tank and the less you muck about with it and put your hands in, the better I think it is. Like, you notice yourself 100%. That if you've got your hands in there every week and moving things about and disturbing it, it never looks 100%. Whereas if you can leave it for a few weeks, I mean, I clean the glass every day and that's it. But other than that, I don't do anything to it. I'm not got my hand in or that, and it looks better now than it ever does. Whether it's a coincidence or not, I don't know. But if you keep your hands out, it looks so much better.
Yeah,
I agree, definitely.
So I've got 3 tanks and 3 completely different setups. So this tank will be 7 years old in August. Hopefully, it won't be here in August, but you never know. It runs the same way today as it did on day one. So I've got a Nios 160 skimmer, and that's important because it's a 450 litre tank, but it's a skimmer up to 1,000 litres. The reason being is I use no pox, so I've been carbon dosing since day one. And that is pretty much the only filtration I have other than loads of live rock. So that was probably one of the last tanks around that you probably have live rock to set it up. And that's been running that way. I dose alkalinity, calcium and magnesium. I very rarely do a water change. Anytime I do a water change, if I look in the sump and it's absolutely filthy, I will sometimes clean the sump and maybe do a 40, 50, 60 litre change. But that's the only time I do a water change, because I take the nutrients out via no-pox, and then I put the goodness back in via the alkalinity, those kind of things. So that's that tank. I've got another tank, which is a DD Reef Pro 900, been running 2 years. That's got a refugium, and the skimmer has, I haven't had the skimmer on for a while, but I'm going to put the skimmer back on to do to build up the pH, and it's got a Chalice. And then I've got a Red Sea Reefer 170 that runs off of bioballs, the Max Spec bioballs, and a skimmer. That one has just started to dose a little bit on that one, and I do water changes probably every week because the nitrates are about 30, and I'm okay with 30, but for some reason I've got a nitrate issue and I haven't quite sorted out the root cause of that, hence why I'm doing changes of 10 litres. But on the Reef Pro, I don't do water changes either. The refugium takes everything out, and I just dose as and when I need to on that. So 3 completely different setups. And that's how that works. So again, 3 different size tanks, 3 different setups, and they all tend to work. And I've deliberately done it differently because I wanted to see how they all work.
Yeah.
So that
sounds like too much hard work, that, mate.
It is with 3 tanks. Yeah, I'll be glad when I go down to 2. I'll be fair, because then I've got less work. But to be fair, all I do is top up the RO, which obviously I forgot to do, and it was all bubbling earlier on before you came on stage, and then I fill up the elements to dose, the no-pox and that. I've got Apex, I've got 4 doses in there, all 4 of them automatically dose. So that's actually really low maintenance. The 170 is actually the higher maintenance at the moment because I do water changes on it. That's a smaller tank. So I'm just going back to, there's a comment up there about looking after torches. So let me just go and find that comment and then come back to you guys. I've got to find it first. It was a little bit earlier on.
There was actually a comment there that I read about, I think it was Doctor of Welsh Magic said he got 2 gold torches and turns out they're both dragon souls. I see loads of people about this recently saying, you know, I bought this thinking it was such and such and it turns out it's something else. For me personally, I never, ever, ever buy a coral based on the name. I only buy it on whether I like the look of it or not. And whatever the name is kind of irrelevant to me. So, you know, I think it's one of those you can kind of get caught up in trying to buy specific names of things. You know, saying I'm looking for such and such. I just buy a coral because I like the look of it. That's the only reason that I'll buy them. So, I mean, I've got torches in there. I've no idea what they're called. I don't know what kind they are. Anything at all. I've just looked at them and went, that's a really nice torch. I'm going to have that. And that's what I try to do. So I probably couldn't tell you the names of half the corals in my tank, but I like the look of them, and that's why I went with them. Which some people will probably look down their nose at me and say, you should know what you've got, but I know it's a torch, and I just go with it. It looks nice.
Yeah. I believe it, like you said, I totally agree with you on the torches. Torches are just getting ridiculous now. You know, like with the names, like a banana torch, and there's this, that, and the other torch. Hold on a minute, it's just a gold torch. It looks exactly the same as it. I think people just make the name up just to get more money out of you. I really just don't know. You know what I mean? But like you said, if you love it, you like them, then buy them. I love torches.
I mean, even with the values and so on of them, I mean, I won't go and research something and say, oh, it's worth that or worth that. If I look at something and I think that's nice, and you look at the price and go, yeah, I'm willing to pay that, or no, I'm not willing to pay that. That's really what it comes down to me. So, I mean, I don't. Yeah, each their own, I suppose. But
I think, my Dragon Soul, when the flow's not on it, it does look bright gold. But when the flow hits it, obviously it splits the tentacles, and then you can see the purple base. Then you can see it's a Dragon Soul. But I can see if someone took a picture of it and it didn't have much flow on it, mine would look like a gold torch. With the flow, you can actually see it's a Dragon Soul. So I can see how you could easily either be done with that kind of bit of a photography trick. It'd be easy to be conned with that.
Yeah. So this was the comment I was looking for around. Does anyone have any tips on colouring up torches, more light, low light, specific foods? Any tips do you share? So I know, Jay, you've talked a little bit about what you do for torches around parameters and other stuff. So start with you.
So as far as I know, well, from my torches, so stable alk is key. You can't have any swings in out because they'll just bail out pretty quick. They like slightly elevated magnesium, so 1350 to 1400. They'll like that, and then a little bit of iodine. Iodine. I don't know what it is. Iodine, same thing. A few drops of that every week seems to get some nice colour. That's what I would go with.
What about you, Steve? You do anything with your torches?
No, not really. Like basically, like Jay says, really. I mean, for lighting wise, obviously, I tested my pass, so where my torches are, whether it's irrelevant, I don't really know. But like where they are, they're reading it around about 260, 280. So people would say that would be too high. I would have thought, with the lighting, but. I mean, you only have to look at the tank and the colour of them. You know what I mean? They colour up perfect. So, other than that, I do feed the AF Power. The AF Power food from Aquaforest. I directly feed that, but I literally give that once a week. I was doing it twice a week, but now I reduced it back. When my nutrients kept on going up, I was like, "Is it that?" You know what I mean? So then I just dose that once a week now, but I spot feed that directly only to the torches. To the scholar, and then to the rainbow chalice. The rainbow chalice loves it when it's at night time. It loves it. You know what I mean? Sweeper tentacles are coming out.
Yeah.
So I'll just basically spot feed them. But other than that, that's all I do. I don't do anything specific to them. No, that's it.
Yeah. What about you, Ross? Because I know yours are quite high up on that arch, aren't they?
Yeah.
So they probably get higher par than some of your other corals.
So my torches are the highest things in the tank. They sit right up the top of the archway. You're probably talking 12 to 14 inches away from the light. Now, I don't run a high intensity schedule on mine, but the torches are up the top. And to be fair, my torches usually look pretty good. What I did find with my torches, and it took quite a bit of playing about with them, and that'll bring me on to something in a second, but with my torches anyway, with the flow in my tank, because it's such a small tank and the way the flow goes and the way the light is, if I was to move one of my torches, say an inch to the left, it'll start to close up a bit. It doesn't like it. It took a bit of time to get my torches exactly where they need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if I put a torch in that tank, so I've got a couple of new ones, when I put them in, and say I stick that down to a certain part of the rock, it might stay slightly closed, and it's not going to open up. If I move that an inch to the left or to the right, it might open up again. So I've found flow to be a massive, massive thing in my tank anyway. Flow seems to be something now. It doesn't affect the colours, and I haven't done anything to change the colours of my torches. They have been what they are. No issues there. But on the positioning one, I'm going to do a shameless plug here. And I don't even know if these are for sale yet or not. But I got these from Aquaprint. Now, this is something that I think is a brilliant idea. Let me just pull one of these out and show you. So I got these from Aquaprint, if that will focus in a second.
So,
Okay. So what this is, right, is basically this bottom part is like a little, is it not going to focus? There we go. It's like a little plug. So you would basically use your putty and you stick that to the aquascape. Then it comes with these little discs for you to put your frags on. Now all that is then quarter of a turn, and that's it on there. So when you want to move things about, you could stick these bases all over the tank.
Oh, I see.
I'm with you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can stick these in different places, and then all you're doing is a simple quarter of a turn on that, lifts it off, and that's
you can move them around, or you could actually take it out. And so you have a torch, or you want to frag it, as long as it's gone over the basement, you can take it off like Zoas, put it on a disc, unzip it or unturn it, put it back in.
So the key thing for that was it was actually kind of more designed towards, if you've got torches and you're taking them out to dip them every couple of weeks and so on,
I was just about to say
something. So
Yeah.
You putty in the bottom part to your scape wherever you want it. So you could put as many of those bottom parts in as you want. And actually with this colour I've got, when it's on the rock, it kind of blends in. You don't notice it.
Yeah.
So you putty them in. I'm going to do this in my new tank. Putty them in, and then you can move things about and you can sort it out to kind of what suits you. I think it's a fantastic idea. So I've got some of these to try, and then you just split them, take it off, quarter a turn, back in again, and it's on. So I got these from Aquaprint. I've got a bag of them here, and I'm going to try them and see what they're like. But I think this is a great thing for moving things about, especially if you need to take things out to dip them or to frag them or so on. I mean, you're only quarter turning a frag plug, lift it out, and then you can put it straight back in again, and it's done. So,
You know what?
shameless
It's
plug, but Aquaprints
good
nailed
idea.
it with them. I think that's a brilliant
It's
idea.
something a bit different. I haven't seen that before. That's quite unique, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
I think
I don't know if he's selling them on the website or not yet. But yeah, I think it's quite a cool little idea that you can, you know, it's almost like a little plug that you can have all over your rockscape, wherever you want. You can hide them. You know, you could putty them and put some sand around about it and hide them in, and it's just a case of a quarter turn and away it goes. So yeah, I think it'll be a good thing. I'm going to try them in the new tank once it's set up, and at least then I can move things about if they're not happy. You know, swap corals about if they don't look right, and do it that way. You could probably stick bigger bits of rock or so on onto them as well if you wanted to. So yeah,
definitely a good idea. That
really good idea, especially like you say for dipping. Because often, well, not often, but every now and again, a torch or a hammer or something like that might need a little dip, and that would be great for that. And
I mean, I know.
When you get
Rudra's put a comment there saying it's a nice idea, but for those who super glue like me, easy to snap off. So I've done that, and I've super glued my torches in, and they're super glued in there, and I break them off time and time again. But you end up trying to break off the super glue and so on. Whereas with these, you know, once you've super glued it to the plug, and you've got your actual base is actually like puttied in, then I just think it makes things a bit much easier and a bit neater. And I know these ones here are a kind of transparent black, but once they're in the tank, they actually do kind of go see through. So I think it will be a good idea. With regards to pricing, I don't know how much they're going to be retail because I don't even know if they're on the site yet or not. It was something that I wanted to try out and test out. So that's really where we're at with these. I think he will be putting them on the website soon, but I'm going to try them out first and see. So
we'll come back to a bit more talk on torches in a minute. I'm just going to go through some of the comments. So one comment, there's where is Jay's tip of the week? Top tip of the week. Jay, we haven't got it yet. We've had it the last couple of weeks.
Do you want a top tip?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the top tip then. So whenever you buy a coral and you see what colour it is in the shop, it might not be the same when it gets in your tank. Don't say brown.
You're gonna drive some brown comments in a minute. You're asking for it.
But obviously, when as a coral sits into your parameters, they do change colours, don't they? And there'll be slight variations. So what you're buying might not be the same as what it looks like when it gets in your own tank.
I think SPS, you see that a lot of people buy SPS and they'll put it into their tank and it'll go completely different. I don't mean brown, so I'm not leading on to brown corals, but you quite often end up green.
Yeah.
And that'll be a combination of your light settings, your parameters, your flow, all of the above. And also sometimes it just takes time. It gets shocked, it'll lose its color, and then it will take ages to come back. I think SPS is probably, I think that's worse than any other for changing color. What I've experienced, others do that as well, to be fair. But
that was it with that yellow one. When I got that, I thought 2 weeks or so that's going to be green or something, or it's going to be brown. There's no way that's going to stay yellow. It was like no chance, because yellow, I believe, is the hardest color to keep in a tank. Like keeping it yellow, true yellow is so hard to keep. I don't know what happens. I think it's like you said, Paul, a mixture of everything: parameters, lighting, flow, everything. I think it's everything. I think it's the whole shebang of it. You know what I mean?
And they turn green a lot of the time, don't they? Yeah,
a lot of them they turn green. Yeah, a lot of them. The majority of them turn green, but touch wood, it does seem to still be yellow now. So
if you do want yellow in your reef tank, scrambled eggs always get my vote, mate. That's the one all day.
Oh yeah, well yeah. They don't change. They don't change colour for sure. No.
We've all had a coral that's changed colour when we've put it in our own tanks.
Definitely.
It looks completely different to what you bought it as.
And I think especially with going back to Euphilia and torches and so on, you know, you can see torches in a shop, especially, and you look at them and you go, well, that's got a cool colour. You put it in your own tank with different lighting, and it's a completely different colour altogether.
Yeah. I've had that with a torch.
And they do more over time as well, depending on your parameters, don't they? I mean, they will start to change colours slightly different.
Absolutely. The Goldie one that I've got, was sold as a Dragon Cell, I've got no idea. That has definitely morphed in colours. As it's grown out and is more, different light is hitting at different angles, because now there's a lot more tentacles on it, that some of the parts are getting less light. And as you say, Jay, flow plays a part in that, in terms of just how it goes, and it just breaks up the light on it, doesn't it? So
there you go.
Yeah.
Perhaps buy the ugly duckling coral and it'll turn into a gem in your own tank rather than the other way around, which is what I could sometimes do. I go for the nicest one. I get it home and I go, well, not get it home, but a few months later I go, well, it doesn't quite look the same as what it did about 2 or 3 months ago.
it would be cheaper, wouldn't it? Buy the brown coral that turns into a rainbow as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, that's it. Tip of the week. Thanks. Is it JC? JC's Reef. That's this week's tip.
Yeah. So some others there about name of the coral quite often matters when you're selling it because people are looking for a name. The problem is making sure the name you're selling is the right one. Otherwise, you end up with an example. Is it a dragon soul? Is it not? You spent, I don't know, 140, 150 quid on a head of a coral and it's not that. But then it comes back to Ross's point around, does it really matter about names, and names equals ups the price. And there we go. There's a comment from Julie around that. There's one around green base and Nick's torch.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And then there was a few comments around the Gonies versus torches. There's a few comments in there around like a Harry Hill. Is it a Goni or is it a torch?
That's another debate, that for sure.
Like I said earlier, I believe that Gonies are going to overtake torches in popularity very soon, if not already.
Don't say that, Ross. I want to buy a few more before the price goes up. I want a few glitters. I want a few glitters in there that are quite nice. So don't push the price.
That does happen every couple of years. The vogue changes. It wasn't too long ago. I think about 3 or 4 years ago it might have been, when you could sell on Facebook. Zoa prices were absolutely nuts because there was some auction sites on Facebook, and people were spending easily 300-400 quid for a couple of polyps of Zoas. And I know you still can do that today, but Zoas are popular, but not as much as they were from a price perspective. That's for sure. Now it's torches. Years ago it was chalices. I mean, rainbow chalices I think will always hold their price because they slow growers and there's not that many around. So you could be right on the Gonioporas. So get in there and they're cheapish.
I seen a thing here on one of the Facebook groups that I'm on. Yeah, a jelly bean chalice. You know, the jelly bean chalice. Yeah. Yeah. I swear to God, it was like it. I don't even know how big it was. Either the frag plug was absolutely massive, yeah, or this was the most smallest piece I've ever seen in my life, and it must have been about less than a centimetre. It's got to have been, yeah. And it was so he had 6 of them. He had 6 pieces. This guy, yeah, and he sold them for £650 a piece, mate. Everyone had gone. He said all sold.
What, and they was really small pieces. Wow.
This is literally about 3 days. This is literally about 3 days, yeah. After he posted them, all 6 had gone at 6.
I wish I had 6 to sell.
I couldn't believe it, mate. I was like, oh my God.
It goes back to the age-old thing of anything's worth what somebody's willing to pay. So somebody's going to pay for it.
Yeah,
absolutely, mate. That's exactly what it is.
It is nuts, but I think you're right about Goniopora. That could well be the next thing.
I'm going to call out that that's going to be the next popular trend as the Gonies, to be honest. That's
I think you're right. So I think it's already started.
Call me Mystic Meg if you want, but that's my future prediction for this one.
Mystic Beard, I'll call you.
Mystic Beard, there we go.
What is the beard saying today?
Yeah. What's it hiding today? That microphone again.
No, there's no microphone here, mate. Look, it's gone.
Oh yeah. By the way, that new camera that you bought looks awesome. You look like professional studio, and they're just the effect of it. It's really good.
It's money well spent, I think, there, mate. Definitely.
It looks awesome.
I still need to learn how to use it properly, but it's definitely doing that. And it's tiny as well. It's a very, very small camera. You know, it's not a big thing to bulk about. Like, I've got a digital SLR, which is a big proper camera, kind of unit of a thing. But it's one of those little pocket cameras, and the reviews and so on that was on it was fantastic. So that's why I went with that, and I think it's really good. I still need to learn how to use it properly, but it's much better than, you know, I used to film everything on my phone before, and it was just ended up rubbish. So
you definitely got the best picture tonight as well. It is really good.
It is a sharper. I would say to you when you used it, I think it was last week, I noticed the sharpness in the picture for sure compared to a webcam.
Yeah, definitely.
Makes your skin look really nice.
Thanks, mate. You try to say that's dove for men. That's what that is, mate. It's
I have
dove.
to say it like gets rid of any like imperfections and wrinkles. I think I could do with it.
I'm not joking. You see the video that I put up last week? I think there was 3 or 4 different people commenting saying it makes you look younger, and I thought
it does.
This is money well spent. I'm doing really well here. If this makes me look younger.
You switched and you look like 5 years younger at least.
I'll take that, mate. I will take that.
Oh dear. Another comment here. Hi, new to Livestream, Jay. Thanks, Julian, for joining. Do you still use mud from future frags?
I do, yeah. How good Julian obviously been. It is an incredible place. Steve, you've been to Future Frags. Such special pieces like that you can't get anywhere else. But yeah, I do use the mud. I've got the mud.
He's specific. I think he specifically handpicks them, doesn't he? Or he has somebody who specifically handpicks, all of his corals. Like he gets some incredible corals.
There's no like box standard stuff, is there?
No. It is a really good shot.
Yeah.
I thought he went. Does he go over to Indonesia or something and actually pick the pieces up out, and obviously then they ship them back, and then he comes back. So he does hand picks them.
Yeah.
I think we should do that. Let's do a road trip to Indonesia and go and pick our own corals.
Imagine actually saying, right, we're going out on the reef, and then we dive with with your shades on, so you can see what they look like under blues.
Yeah. I would love to do that at some point, mate. It needs to be done, to be honest.
God, that's going to end disastrously. This is it. Fiji mangrove mud. And I put it in once every 6. It's just a bag of mud, really, but once every 6 weeks, a little pea-shaped amount into RO water, just kind of get kind of all milky and mixed up in there, then pour it into the power head at night. Then the next morning, oh my God, the tank looks incredible, like crystal clear, and the colour and the corals just look so happy.
Yeah,
it is. You get an instant. Well, you're not an instant reaction, but you get a noticeable reaction from it. But yeah, he sells tubs of it, and now he's now on Instagram, and I don't know if the online shop sells it. I'm not sure, but great. It's a really good shop. Really good shop.
So there's a question there. Is it like the Aquaforest Life Source? Now, I don't know much about it. Do you use that at all, Steve? I know what the Aquaforest Life Source is, because I know you use a lot of their products.
I've spoke about that one before, haven't I? About when somebody was posted up about all the metals in the container. Remember?
It's that right? Okay.
In the actual mud, that was the stuff that it was. So that's what steered me away from it. Because some guy got a big magnet and then pulled it up, and all of this like metal stuff started coming out. Anyway, they did reply to it saying like, this is the good metals that are okay for the system, and stuff like that. I thought all metals were bad for the system, but according to them, no, it was good to go. But when you read the reviews, a lot of people do say it's not like what Jay just said. You know what? You put it in your tank, and the corals look fantastic. So they're not going to sell some of it, in mass produced amount, if it's going to kill your coral, because they'll just be under lawsuits all the time.
You'd hear so much about it.
They're not going to do it, mate. Yeah, there'll be so much about it. So maybe I was just a bit like, maybe I should have just given it a try, but I haven't done it. No, I haven't used it, but maybe something. I definitely want to maybe get something like what Jay said, but like he said, a big tub of it. I think he only sells them is it like 2 kilo tubs
big
or something?
Tubs. Yeah,
that'll last me like 10 years or so. So it's like lasts me about 10 years. So I don't know.
I think he breaks them up though, because I've got a smaller one.
Does it?
Going with that metal thing, this is where it fries my head, because like coral reefs grow on shipwrecks, don't they? And they're metal. That just fries my head. Like you can't have metal in your tank, or you can't have metals near your corals, but then they grow on shipwrecks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but look at the size of the ocean, though. Water volume in that, mate.
It's slightly different. But I get what you're saying.
No, I'm not going to put a big piece of metal in there. No chance. But
you'll have a little tugboat in the tank to test it out.
Well, my little boy did jokingly. Well, he didn't jokingly say. He said that we're going to have SpongeBob in the bottom of it. I was like, "There's no chance I'm having a little SpongeBob in my reef tank." in our.
I actually seen on Instagram the other day somebody had put a Lego figure, little Lego
Yeah, I
figures you
seen
get.
that.
Somebody put one of them in,
I've
and
seen
they
it.
had the Cyphastria. The Cyphastria was starting to grow on the bottom of it. And I thought that'd be really cool once
That's
it actually starts to grow over it. But I don't really know if Lego's safe to be in your tank.
It's plastic, isn't it? And it's got paint on it. Has it got paint or something?
Yeah, but
I don't know if it's reef safe. Yeah, that's a
lot of
good
the
point.
plastics
I don't
have
think
got
it's reef safe.
BPAs, I think, in some of the plastics. So you need to watch for some of the toxins that can leach out of them. That's the only thing. But
I know. Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know about that really, but yeah.
Anyway, have you spotted the difference with my tank? There's something missing. You haven't noticed?
Oh.
No, let's have a
fan.
It's not inside.
You lost.
What?
Is she fanning it?
Yeah, my fans. Yeah, they fell in.
Yeah.
They fell in.
They fell in.
They fell in.
That's not the first time, is it?
They fell in. That's the second time it's happened. They fell in.
I shouldn't laugh, really, but it's just.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for my support, Hey, look. They fell in and look, there's still water coming off of them.
How did they fall in?
Oh, don't ask me. I was doing my water change. This is why you don't have any of these problems. So they're all like wet through inside. So I need to buy my third set before the summer kicks in.
So they're not the DD ones. Like you bought the DD ones to begin with, then you broke those, and then these ones were cheap ones off of Amazon, weren't they? And you've broken those ones. So what are you going for next?
Yeah, and I bought them in October, so they haven't actually been used really. They only started. They came on once. They came on once, I think yesterday, and they've dropped in the tank and they're wet through and they don't even switch on now. So I've got to buy my third set of fans in 14 months or 15 months. But yeah. But it's getting to that time now. I mean, I shouldn't really say this, but it's getting to that time where if you haven't got fans, loads of people start buying them, getting ready for summer, don't they? Or they wait for summer.
Can I tell you something? I've been working outside all this week, and I actually ended up with sunstroke on Tuesday. It was that hot, and I was out in the sun all day. So I ended up with that on Tuesday. And then, believe it or not,
it's 12 degrees in Scotland.
Yeah, but this is the crazy bit, right? So I think it was, what was it showing? My van was showing 23 degrees the other day. Now, obviously it wasn't that, but that was what my van was telling me.
Yeah.
Now, next week it's to snow. How can you possibly go from being 20 odd degrees to snowing the following week? That is just ridiculous. But
that's called Scotland for you. It's always like
it is, mate. Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, I might need fans this week, and then I might need a heater next week to heat the tank up even more because it's going to snow. So,
yeah. There's a comment there about just get a stand for a fan.
I know what it is, right? So what's happened is, the black screen that comes down here on my left-hand side, the little plastic clip, because the tank's like a year and a half. The salt's just corroded it, so it doesn't always grip. So if I slightly knock that back plate when I've got the lid off, they just do like a Tom Daly and just dive in. So that's why I've gone through 2 sets of fans in no time. But I need to buy another set now. But, yeah.
You need to get some armbands for your fans, Jay, so they float.
I need some armbands.
So I don't get it. How do they fall in if you've got a jump net on top?
No, the jump net, because I was doing the water change, Steve.
Oh, right. Okay.
Right. Them water changes. I'm doing one of them. So the guard was off, and then I slightly knocked the glass panel at the back, and it just went tipped in. Right. Okay. So it didn't just fall in then, basically. Straight in like that. And then they're not waterproof, even though they should be. They might be splash proof, but they're not like submersible. Not submersible, are they? Yeah, splash proof is slightly different to you actually knocking them straight into the tank and electrocuting the clowns. So was you trying to kill the clowns by electrocuting them? Yeah. No, they weren't on at the time, so that's good. But another top tip, Jay. Don't do water changes, and you'll save money on fans. They're expensive, aren't they? There you go. I think I answered the question on that one. I can't believe it. So my water change today has cost me 25 quid, basically. I've got to buy a new set of fans. That's the equivalent of 6 months worth of water changes for you, isn't it, Jay? I know, yeah. Yeah. And I hate spending money. As a Yorkshireman, I hate spending money. So it annoyed the hell out of me. I was like, oh! Bloody reef
It's an
tank.
expensive hobby. It's an expensive hobby.
What was the
isn't
sound
it, Jay?
effect of
There
the
you go.
fans hitting the water again, Jay?
Yeah.
It was me cursing when they hit the water.
He can't remember.
No, he
I can't
can't. He's not got a clue.
I can't remember the sound that I used for that. I can't remember.
Oh, he's mad.
It was something like, oh, shh.
No, that's not what you. That wasn't the
Sugar.
sound of the water, was it? The word sugar did not come to it. It was a shh. Something like that.
Yeah.
It's like when I teach the year 9s at school and they're like, oh, shh. And I'm like, whoa, but don't want that. Don't want that. I cut them off halfway through.
It's a family-friendly show, remember, Jay?
Absolutely.
It's a family-friendly show. And we're one dysfunctional family.
Yeah.
We are indeed. What family-friendly show would you know sitting indoors and drinking whiskey every night? It's ridiculous.
So what bottle's that one? That's a bit different to usual, isn't it?
I change it up every week now, mate. So this is Highland Park. This one is.
Oh, Highland
So that looks quite expensive, or is it not?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I didn't buy this one. This was a gift I was given, so I'm
You
not
buy
entirely
anything?
sure how much this one
He
is.
just goes round the distilleries, doesn't he?
Goes round and gets
Yeah,
it.
well,
Free.
Perks of the job, to be honest, mate. I do work in distilleries, so you do get given several different bottles every time
This
you
guy
go.
don't even pay for his food shop.
The best bit of it is, see, every time I go to a distillery and work in there, and you get speaking to the old boys who are like proper die-hard whiskey lovers, and they've worked in there since they were a boy. And you go in there and you say, and they say, have you tried our whiskey, son? You go, no, I've never tried this stuff. Sort you a bottle of new, and they come back, there's a bottle for you, son. You go, nice, that'll do. You go away home a couple of bottles and it's good, so.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some people bring home staplers and paper clips and things like that, and you bring home loads of whiskey.
Bottles of whiskey, mate, yep.
Perks of the job.
Yeah.
It is perks of the job. So I'm going to Jameson Distillery on Monday, so hopefully I'll get a couple of them. Although I'm not a fan of Jameson.
I was just about to say, I didn't think you was a fan of Jameson's. You said that the other week, didn't you, when you said you was going to
No, I've got a Jameson bottle on the shelf, actually. It's never been opened, so it'll add that, but I'll see what they've got.
So it's almost like what's Ross's tip of the week? Is it, or what is Ross's tipple of the week?
Tip of the week is when you go work in a distillery to tell them you've never tried their whiskey before. That's always the tip of the week.
And you come out and you
Regardless
can't
if
drive.
if you have or you haven't, you just always say, no, that's a new one to me, mate. I've never tried this one before, but I do like whiskey. They always come and say, there's a bottle for you, son. You take that away and try that.
Jay's dream would be just to have a date pass at a Yorkshire tea. Wouldn't it? That'd be perfect.
That is true.
I'd love to go a show around the factory. I would. There isn't like a factory tour as far as I know. You can't go and have a taste of the tea and stuff.
Is it not?
No, I'm
No,
sure.
really?
One thing I will say is the distillery tours that you get are brilliant. So if any of you get a chance to go up to Scotland and do any distillery tours, I would do any one of them because they are really, really good. So if you're ever up there, then check one of them out. They're well worth doing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm up there over Easter, so I might see which one to go to.
I'll set you up with a couple of good ones to go to, mate. And even if you go to one of them and do a tour, they're interesting anyway. So yeah.
Well, we could do that. We could do the tour on a Saturday afternoon and then go out for something sweet on a Saturday evening. If we can make it.
You were shit-faced.
Are you really? Oh, I'm going to throw this out there and say, are you really sure you want to come out drinking whiskey with me?
Yeah.
Probably a bit dangerous.
Do you know some of those things you don't really think through? That might well be one of them.
Definitely. It's probably not your most sensible thing.
No,
to do,
I'd probably use the excuse there's too much sugar in it, therefore I can't have it because my diabetes will go all over the shop, which does that with a lot of alcohol, to be fair.
Now.
It goes all over the shop. It's just not worth the hassle. I'd have a couple, but I'm not a big drinker. Because
it doesn't tell you the sugar content in these.
Yeah, it's weird because sometimes I have a drink and my blood sugars go through the floor, and other times it goes through the roof. It's really weird. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
No, there's no sugar content in this at all, mate. So which means to me there is none whatsoever. So you're fine. You can have it.
So I can't even blame it on that.
Scottish
all-
Tourism Board. Yeah, I think you could work for the Scottish Tourism Board.
That's what we should do. We should do
Visit
we should actually do
Scotland.
a reefers whiskey tour. We'll come up to Scotland. We'll do a big tour of them.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, I'll be up for that. That'd be good fun.
That'd be quite
Sure.
funny. So what's your view on Southern Comfort then? So we just totally forget about. Don't
Yeah.
need words.
That's not. Yeah, that's
Okay,
not whiskey.
we'll move on.
I'm just going to say Southern Comfort is not a whiskey.
And lemonade. Lovely.
I think you might be outvoted here, Ross. The chat's overwhelmingly for Southern Comfort. It's big votes.
Oh dear.
Like one of those
Amazing.
emojis. Hit your head.
Yeah. It's we've kind of steered this one in a different direction now, but yeah.
I know.
What's happening next week then? What we got going next week? Anything happening?
Where are we next
I
week?
don't know. Are we, Steve? Are we on yours next week?
Yeah.
Are you not sure? Oh, we are.
Yeah, be on-
Excellent.
Yeah, on mine, mate. Yeah, next week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
it'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll be on mine.
So
Nice
just
one, Steve.
one
Yeah, we'll sort
last.
something out.
He
Oh,
likes
yeah.
a giveaway. We all know that.
Oh, right.
There's
I forgot to do
Jack.
this last week. I forgot to do it last week, so I'm going to jump in here. Shameless plug again. I do have a giveaway going on just now on my Instagram.
Oh,
If
yes.
you are interested. I totally forgot to do this last week, so I'm going to do it just now. Apologies. But I've got an Instagram giveaway going on just now. So if you do have Instagram, go and look at my page just now. And there's some really, really good prizes on there. There's £100 from Kraken. There's £100 from Nessie's Lair. There's an RODI unit from Aquatic. There's loads and loads and loads of good prizes. So go and have a look at that. It's on there. You'll see it and how to enter it and so on. I won't take up any more time, but that is a really good giveaway. So go and have a look at that anyway.
Definitely.
No, it's
Definitely.
really good. You look at the items on there. You've really done well there to tease out a few prizes from people.
Yeah, there's a few good ones. I'm glad I can't actually enter
I
it
would go as
myself.
far as saying it's the best giveaway I've seen. I think it's incredible. It's
What,
awesome
better than
prize.
Steve's Radiant?
Well, no, for the range of
Yeah.
different gifts.
I think
The
it could
range
be
of
well be.
different gifts.
It could
I
well
think
be actually. It could well be.
adds up to
Definitely.
more than Radiant. That's yours, Ross.
Way more. Of course,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
But the Radiant was pretty good. He did pull it out the bag there, Steve.
Ooh,
Radiant was definitely
the Radiant
the best.
for a single giveaway. The Radiant
Yeah.
for a single giveaway. Yeah, for sure.
absolutely.
But we'll never beat that unless somebody gives away a tank or something. You know what I mean? I can't see a tank being given away.
I
you
mean,
know what
who would get a tank? Who would get a tank for free? I mean, just doesn't
Who's going to
Exactly.
get a tank for free, are they?
No,
doesn't happen. No,
no,
So
no, that's what I mean.
That's not going to happen.
No.
Um,
Well, here's an
no,
interesting one.
no.
Kenny Mack's local LFS is Nessie's Lair. That is also mine. So Kenny Mack must be a local Scottish man.
Oh,
Good guy.
that's your local, isn't it? As you say. Yeah.
That is
You
my
must-
local.
yeah.
Yeah.
You must have met him. You're always
Kenny
there,
Mack.
I don't think I've met Work Kenny.
Mm.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. You have to come to the meet. You have meets there, don't you? You have like little.
We do have meets there, yeah. They do. So it's through Ultimate Reef, the website on there, which is actually
Yeah.
a really good forum. If you haven't checked out Ultimate Reef, I would go and have a look at that because
That is
it's. I
good.
feel like all I'm doing is plugging stuff tonight. Buy these, buy that. Have a look at Ultimate Reef. It's not really where I'm going with
Ultimate
that,
Reef
but
is good though. You get some really good posts on
Yeah.
there, to be fair, and it's
it is.
there's some really experienced people on there as well. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So Haley put on there about Recordia, Florida Recordias. Haley, if you let me know, because I'm breaking down the tank, I got some blue with pink center ricks. I think you've got one in your Pico, haven't you?
Yeah, that's the one that's in my Pico Polar. Actually,
Yeah.
it's really nice, to be fair. It's one of those, when you first look at it, you go, it's more green, but see when you see the light on it properly, it's really, really nice, actually. I do like that one.
Mm.
So let me know. I've got a rock with about 25 on them, and I need to get rid of some of them. So if you let me know, Haley, if you want some, we'll sort something out on that, and I can post it through to you. Right, what else have we got before we finish? So Steve, we're on your channel next week, so that's good.
Yeah.
There's a comment there from Roderick
Yeah.
Paul about Randy moving away from BRS. I did see that. He's going to do something about, is he going to do something about guns or shooting or something? Or
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah. It's off.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think
total
he's moving
opposite
away
to what it
altogether
is.
to go to
Yeah.
more of shooting or hunting or guns or something to do with that anyway.
Yeah. He you know what, he does make the channel, doesn't he, that Randy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He is like a face of it, innit? You know what I mean? It'll be good for him, really. But you know what? Off to new pastures, I suppose. You know what I mean? But yeah, Mugs, if worse comes to worse, you get you.
Oh,
We've not seen Sally for a long time.
Oh, there you go.
So last week we didn't see Time's Up, and then we do see it now in block capital. So thank you, Julie. Ross missed it last week.
I did miss it. I still can't find it in the chat. I don't know where it went. I couldn't find it at all. So,
Julie, this went on for about 15 minutes. He went on for about 15 minutes after the live stream. You're still looking for it, weren't you, in the chat?
I know. I kept scrolling, and I'm like, nah, definitely not there. It's not there, but it must have been.
Definitely there this week, Ross.
Right.
Big letters.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate you spending your Friday nights with us. We still can't believe how many people tune in to listen to us waffle on.
Yeah.
There we go. So yeah, thank you very much. Have a great weekend. We're with Steve next week. So hopefully see you next week. So bye all. Have a good one. Yeah, there is he.
Cheers, guys. Nice one.
See you later.